tired? You ready, girlfriend?
He's like,
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm tired too. Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for being here with us today. And obviously, we are excited about all the community support we have. I'm Senator Samra Brook. I am here with my colleague in the Assembly, Assemblymember Sarah Clark, also originator of the Mom Squad, Sarah Clark. And of course, we have advocates from all over the community, moms, community members, community leaders here today, because it's really an important moment right now. Many folks know that we are in the middle of the New York State budget negotiations, and we really here in New York, and especially in our community, have a real opportunity to further our investment in a very deep way for mothers and infants and really lift families and communities out of poverty. Assemblymember Clark and I carry legislation to create the MILK program, stands for Mothers and Infants Lasting Change. This program provides low-income mothers with unrestricted monthly cash allowance during the final months of pregnancy and for several months after birth. The data really shows us that when we give mothers especially financial independence, the independence they need, they can not only take steps to lift them and their families out of poverty, but both the mother and children also have healthier outcomes. And we're here in Rochester because nowhere in New York State is it more apparent that we need to do a better job of addressing poverty, do a better job of addressing concentrated poverty, and do a better job of addressing specifically childhood poverty. We've seen firsthand what happens when you live in a city where nearly 1 in 2 of our children are living in poverty. And that's why pilot programs like the one we have locally, operated by the city, or the program through the Bridge Project, have been so successful. So we're here today because we know already that this works. And we're calling on New York State to keep the investment of $200 million that is in the Assembly One House budget to fund a pilot program for this milk project. I'm going to hand it over to my Assembly member colleague who's going to talk a little bit more about what milk would do for our community, Assembly member Sarah Clark.
hello, thank you. Woo! Thank you to my Mom Squad member and original member of. We have really changed the face of some of the priorities that our legislature has taken on by the fact that so many moms do now exist there as elected representatives of their communities. And one of them really is the well-being of our children and our families in the state of New York. What I can tell you, so Senator Ramos and I were the originally brought about the milk legislation 2 years ago, and it's been a sort of steady push to start to get more people understanding what this would do and why it would be so impactful. Senator Brooks, honestly, her really taking this on has taken it to a new level in terms of getting the attention it needs from other legislators, but also our advocates and community groups to say this is needed and this is needed now. This program is really, it's still a pilot. I mean, I think ultimately we all know that cash assistance, direct cash works to help families come out of poverty. But we're still, particularly when we're getting to this point where the government, it's always been funded by private organizations, private funders. But if we're going to get to the point where the government is choosing this as a policy idea, then we have to start with a pilot and sort of work our way up to that point where everyone who qualifies would get it. The milk program is really targeted at moms, like the senator said, 3 months before delivery and 18 months afterwards. The milk program is set up very specifically to target families at 200% under the 200% federal poverty level, which for a family of 4, we just looked up, was around $60,000, which is, as we know, almost impossible to live on. Again, because it's a pilot, it'd be randomly selected of who would be able to participate. But our ultimate goal is to continue to prove time and time again that this works. What I want to say is we actually really know it does work. We actually know cash in the hands of families makes a difference. We saw it during the pandemic when we enhanced the child tax credit and those who had children were given more cash per month to live. We had a dramatic effect on poverty during that time. And then when it ended, it all went away. And so we're here to say, fine, we'll keep testing it, we'll keep piloting it. But again, I really hope that we get to this point where we understand when people meet these conditions, these financial conditions, that everyone who gets the help gets it, because that's what I think is going to really make a difference and change how poverty looks in our community and help us meet our goals. A couple years ago, we did pass a what is it called? Child Poverty Reduction Task Force, with very lofty goals to cut it in half over the next now 8-ish years left in the program, or left in the task force. And direct cash is really a big piece of this. We know that's one of the ways we do it. I have read many books on poverty and why it's created and how it happens. Let me be very clear, it is a policy choice. It is not a choice by a family. What we know about families in poverty is that there's actually not a lot of good choices. It is really a struggle between a lot of bad choices or a lot of difficult choices. And if we're going to change poverty, we have to disrupt poverty. We can no longer just continue to do the same programs over and over again that are not pulling people out of poverty in the way we need to. And why I think it's really important to focus on new moms, both before delivery and after, is that it is one of the most expensive, overwhelming, stressful times. And if we can do everything in our power as a government to really ensure that that family is off on the right foot. You often say when someone's in a hole, you don't give them a shovel, you give them a ladder. And the first few months of having a child is like being in a hole, both mentally, physically, but also financially. And there's a lot of things that our current programs that help people don't cover, and diapers being one of them. But childcare isn't always covered. And what this does is not only give the financial resources that are needed to help someone, but it gives that mom, that baby, an opportunity to be maybe a little less stressed out, have a little bit more ability to bond, to be able to do the things that we know are so critical in those first few months to get that child's brain going, and really set that child as well as that mom on a path to thriving. I cannot be more clear. This is based on the Bridge Project out of New York City, which is now operating in Rochester and in Buffalo. But the results and the data is clear. This makes a huge difference. And this is what we're talking about when we say we finally want to disrupt poverty and get people to financial independence and allow them to thrive as their child ages. So you're going to hear from a lot of different people. I can't believe we're joined by families, advocates, also labor and union. I can't tell you how much it's so wonderful to see such a mass coalition of people who are saying, let's do something different. Let's finally really help families. And I will let the senator start to introduce all that we have here to join us. Thank you.
Excuse me. Next, we will have Executive Director, or is it CEO?
Executive Director.
Okay. Sometimes I like to give promotions. Next, we will welcome the Executive Director of our MAPI, Aqua Porter.
Thank you. Good afternoon, I'm Aqua Porter, and I'm the Executive Director at our MAPI, and now these days I like to say I'm also a poverty abolitionist. There is a tribe in Africa called the Maasai, whose traditional greeting to each other is Kaserian and Ger. It means, and how are the children? They do not ask each other, how are you, or how's your day, but rather they ask about the next generation. The Maasai believe that monitoring the well-being of their children is the best way to determine the future health and prosperity of their whole society. When we invest in families, communities, and the people who take care of our youngest children, we are creating environments that help build a strong foundation for all the future. As cited in a report by the Institute of Medicine, providing safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments for all children requires changing attitudes, behaviors, norms, and policies. That kind of shift in attitude and policy requires a huge commitment. The Mothers and Infants Lasting Change Milk Allowance represents that commitment. It is supported by undisputable evidence from other unconditional transfer programs that it has substantial benefits, including lifting families out of poverty and providing a head start for long-term stability. Let me tell you about one project. The Magnolia Mothers Trust Project has had a significant and positive impact on the lives of low-income Black mothers in Jackson, Mississippi, by providing them with $1,000 each month, no strings attached, for 12 months. The initiative, launched in 2018, was designed to address the financial vulnerabilities and systemic barriers faced by these women and their families. It is notable for being the first guaranteed income initiative in the United States explicitly targeting extremely low-income families headed by Black women living in affordable housing. The project's outcomes have demonstrated a broad range of benefits for the participants and their children, including material, emotional, and psychological improvements. Participants reporting feeling more self-confident and hopeful about their futures. The provision of a guaranteed income reduced financial stress, allowing mothers to spend more quality time with their children and invest in their well-being, including educational resources like desks and laptops for remote learning during COVID-19, and the financial support enabled families to afford groceries, save money, and make significant purchases such as vehicles, enhancing their mobility and overall quality of life. Moreover, the project has shown that contrary to common misconceptions about guaranteed income programs, recipients use the funds responsibly to improve their living conditions and seek better employment opportunities, viewing the financial aid not as a permanent solution, but as a head start. It underscores the potential of guaranteed income programs to address poverty, offering direct financial support combined with freedom and dignity to choose how to meet their needs and aspirations best. We know that the first 1,000 days of a baby's life are crucial because this is a period of significant growth and development. It encompasses rapid physical and brain development, laying the foundation for the child's future health, behavior, and learning. This critical period shapes long-term health, learning abilities, and emotional well-being, meaning adverse conditions can have lasting negative impacts. We have the responsibility to ensure that the next generation does not needlessly suffer the consequences of poverty, because we know solutions that work. Our MAPI demands that the Milk Allowance Program be funded, and that in the future, the answer to Kasarian and Gary is that the children are thriving.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Aqua. Next, we have the CEO of the Children's Agenda, Larry Marks.
Bringing the dad squad in the house a little bit. The Children's Agenda wholeheartedly supports the Mothers and Infants Lasting Change monthly allowance in the state budget. We all know that having a baby is a life-altering experience. It affects everything from who can and can't work, who gets to sleep and who doesn't, to increase costs for every family expense you could possibly name. Research last year in the academic journal Demography proves what we've all known intuitively for years. The very experience itself of giving birth to a new child plunges many families into poverty. That alone shows poverty because of decreased employment, increased financial strain around the time of childbirth. That results in mothers, particularly minority and first-time mothers, falling into poverty, negatively affecting every impact you can imagine for children. The basic needs of mothers and babies are the same, but individual circumstances vary, and not a single family should ever be forced into poverty simply from the fact of giving birth to a new baby. Rather than prescribing for families, oh, you need this, we think you need that. This allows, the milk allowance allows mothers to decide what's best for their family, some fathers too, and what's best for their children. The decisions they make could be about purchasing healthy foods, securing better housing, accessing reliable transportation to get to a job. Whatever it is, moms and dads know best. Research shows, as everybody said, unrestricted support like the milk allowance makes lasting change in the lives of children. This is when children's brains are forming 1 million new neural connections a second. 1 million connections a second. We all should wish we could be as smart as a baby and be as talented and developed as a baby. We urge you and the legislature to stay strong, devote the full $200 million allocation to pay for this exciting child and family foundational support, and we thank all the sponsors of this incredibly important bill that could alter the lives of moms and their babies. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry. You heard the Assemblymember Clark mention that we do also have the support of the larger labor community and a lot of our unions here in New York, and really the ones leading the charge are our teachers union, NYSET, and we probably couldn't have gotten this far without them. And so from NYSET today, we have Marnie Brady. Thank you.
So if you're wondering why a teachers union is here, why we're backing bills like this so strongly, and why this legislation is a part of NYSET's push to combat child poverty, it's simple. This is an education issue at the deepest level. We know that supporting the whole child extends far outside the classroom and long before a student even enters the school building. Truly supporting our students begins with making sure they have the best start possible. We know the science. We know a child's brain develops most rapidly during those early years, that these developmental years are crucial. So initiatives that help to ensure healthy development and reduce childhood adversity improve lifelong development in both physical and mental health. When we give mothers the resources to care for their health before and after they give birth, they can best support their children from the very start, which then puts children on the path to grow into their strongest selves. This can fundamentally affect the next 12 years of their learning experiences. This investment in their early development means the ability to engage in authentic learning with focus, collaboration, and creativity. It means the chance to reach their natural potential. So this legislation is about equity and justice for our students. It's about making sure all of our kids and families, regardless of zip code or household incomes, are given foundations for success. In New York, 1 in 5 children lives in poverty. For children of color, that rate is 1 in 3. And this is New York, the 10th largest economy in the world, with a state with a GDP of over $2 trillion, home to 135 billionaires, 340,000 millionaires. This is not inevitable. This is a policy decision, and we can make choices to change this. Choices like this bill, a $200 million investment in this year's budget to support mothers and families. Because if we really want to address deeply rooted issues that are affecting our students' ability to learn and to demonstrate their learning, and if we really want every student to live up to their natural potential, we as a state must invest in their well-being from the very start. Thank you.
Thank you, Marnie. You're getting us all riled up, which is great. This is the time to be riled up. Next, I'd like to welcome Sarah White-Smith from Rock the Future, but also director of the Whole Child Initiative, which is very much in line with this.
Thank you so much, Senator. Good afternoon. As stated before, my name is Sarah White-Smith, and I am the director of the Whole Child Initiative with Rock the Future Alliance. So Rock the Future is a member of the Strive Together Network, and that is a national movement that's currently impacting the lives of about 14 million youth and counting. So since 2011, our alliance here locally, made up of leaders representing systems from the education, healthcare, and human services sectors, along with philanthropy and government, along with, and I would need to point out, parents and youth, and we have some parents here today. We come together to promote the intentional alignment of resources to accelerate and increase our collective impact. Together, we work to position every child in Rochester on a path to upward mobility by improving educational outcomes, cradle to career. Locally, the Whole Child Initiative seeks to improve health, education, and human service outcomes for children and their families across the developmental continuum from prenatal to approximately 8 years old or the 3rd grade. Now, we know that mothers need fill in the blank, right? Mothers need education, mothers need support, mothers need financial resources to bring a healthy baby into a nurturing home and environment. This bill will ensure income-eligible participants receive a cash allowance for the last 3 months of pregnancy and the first 18 months of a child's life. And we know, you've heard from the speakers who've come before me, what a critical time that is in the life and in the development of a child. So today, our community gathers to call on our Senate and Assembly leadership, as well as our Governor, Hochul, to include a $200 million investment into this enacted budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And last but certainly not least, we have Natalia Lauer. No. Oh, hi. I was like, where did you go? From Citizen Action.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be standing here today to discuss a crucial bill that has the potential to make a significant impact on the lives of mothers and their children. The bill in question proposes to provide mothers with a cash payment per month during the last 3 months of pregnancy and the first 18 months after the baby is born. As a mother myself, I understand the challenges and sacrifices that come with motherhood. I had my son at a very young age. I continued working up until the 9th month that I was pregnant and had to return to work shortly after giving birth to make ends meet. I speak from personal experience when I say that this bill would have made a significant difference in my life. The support from these funds would have benefited me, and I believe it will greatly benefit many other mothers and children. It would have provided me with the support I needed to focus on my health, my baby's well-being, and our overall happiness. These funds would have given me the more opportunities and choices for my future, such as pursuing further education without the immediate need to return to work. The pressure to balance work and motherhood can be overwhelming, and mothers, like myself, find themselves in situations where they have to return to work shortly after giving birth due to financial stressors. The bill we are discussing today is not just about financial assistance. It is about supporting the mental health, physical health, and overall well-being of mothers and their children. Research has shown that providing financial support to mothers during pregnancy and in the early months of a child's life can have a positive impact on their health outcomes and reduce the risk of poverty. Here in Rochester, the poverty rate for children is more than 50%, so it is crucial that we take proactive steps to support mothers and children in need. I urge all of you to support this bill and recognize the importance of investing the well-being of mothers and their children. This bill has the potential to lift families out of poverty, create a healthier environment for children to grow and thrive, and ultimately build a stronger and more resilient community. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for your testimony and for sharing. I think to underscore what I think everyone has said, and I think Assemblymember Clark started it, poverty is a policy decision. We are policymakers. We want to make better decisions. And I think that for years, New York has missed the mark on making the right decisions to actually support our children and our families. And as far as we're concerned, that stops now, and we need to start making stronger policy decisions.
Yeah, and I would just say, obviously we've had this legislation. It requires a fiscal, right? So in the Assembly One House budget, we did allocate $200 million for a program. They labeled it Inspire, but it's very much based after the milk program. And our goal and our ask right now from everyone in this room, everyone who's listening, and everyone who understands how important this is to ensure we get that $200 million for this program in the final enacted budget. It will make a world of difference for thousands of families across the state of New York.
Thank you. We'll open up to if there's any questions on milk for either us or anyone standing here.
What's next and how does this move forward?
Want to go?
Well, sure. So we have an enacted budget, or we have an Assembly One House budget. The Senate has a Senate One House budget. The governor obviously came out with her budget early on. The program is in both the Assembly and Senate versions right now in different forms, but what we are doing now is we are going into negotiations between the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor. We know, and because the governor didn't have it in hers, we've put a lot of our activists, a lot of our advocates, and those who really understand this have been working with her office to raise this to her attention and understand why it's so important. And it is our goal that when the three of them come to the negotiating table, that this stays as close to $200 million as possible in the final budget that we agree to.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all so much, and thank you all.
Powerhouse.
Yes.
I feel like we need